hanging right there. Is it there? Nah, dang. It was hanging right here. It was hanging right there. I wanted you to see it. Right there. Huh? You found it? Where's it at? Oh, I thought you were talking about the lock. I don't know why they moved it. It's been hanging there. I brought it in there Monday. I mean Tuesday. Because I did it on Saturday. All right. Hey, Shalom, other one. Huh? Yeah. Did you see that his cover that was hanging up there, sir? He says on the second shelf inside the box. He wants to speak to you. So, huh? What? I don't know what happened with that. I don't know. I get it. Now these letters are not the exact letters. What the fuck? Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. That's why I had it hanging up. You know what I'm saying? So now, see, now the letters that I got are smaller. This shit coming right off. Now this, you understand? These are the kids. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do it. Just leave it here. I'm just gonna have to do it. Just put it on that hanger, because I had it hanging up, man. I don't know why anybody, that hanger right there. And I'll try to fix it. But I don't know. You see that? Anyway. I try to get it repaired anyway. Yeah, but you don't cheat. I don't like that. I had that shit hanging right there with the hanger. They done made it worse. Testing 1 2 1 2. No, just wow. That's some shit right there, man. If it was mine, I would say something. I damn sure would. Like, yo, man, come on, man. This is brother went to Hebrew Academy with Harvard. That shit, don't just stuff it in the box, man. Okay, here we go. Hey, Shalom. Yahweh Shemal Shai Barakathum. To all the brothers. Yahweh Shemal Alathan Bahashem Yahweh Shai. To all the sisters with the Isupk, the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Hey, Baba Kashar, could you erase that board for me? Oh boy, it's like it just we got a momentary delay. Just bear with us for a second. About to shut if you erase that board for me. There's some spray over there. There should be some paper towels right here. Nope. Move the paper towels. You still live? Huh? You still live? Yeah, I know, but I gotta just mute it. I'm avoid. I'm not gonna be going through this shit every week. I gotta rush it like this. Okay. Let me mute. That's good. What? Testing, testing, 1 2 1 2. Okay, once again. Okay, shalom to Israel. Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Barakatham to all the brothers. Yahweh Shema, Alathan Bahashem, Yahweh Shai to all the sisters with the ISUPK, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Command and General Yohana. The ISUPK has been teaching the truth of the Bible, okay, since 1969. You understand? And that truth includes the fact that so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, and so-called First Nation people are the true Jews, God's chosen people, the Israelites, the people of the Bible, okay? The Bible itself upholds this. We are the home of the truth, the origin of the truth. If you're not in ISUPK under Command and General Yohana, you're simply not in the truth. You understand? You outside the truth. You understand? In ISUPK under Command and General Yohana, we're not affiliated with any other Hebrew Israelite group, sect, religion. The ISUPK stands on its own merit. Once again, shalom. I'm Officer of 1,000 Yanazar here in Durham, North Carolina, and today we'll be doing the Lashawan Qadash, or the Hebrew language, the Holy Tongue class. We only got like 40 minutes, so we're going to try to do the best we can for that time, okay? So without further ado, what I want to do today, right, is, okay, so we have culture and we have language, right? So culture is your habits, what you understand as a group. That's the culture. Of course, everybody know what culture is, right? And language is the expression, the verbal expression and the communication of that culture. That's what language really is. It's the communication of one culture to another. So when you speak English, you represent a certain culture. When you speak Spanish, you represent a certain culture. So when we spoke Hebrew, we was representing our culture. So we're going to get into a couple of culture differentiations or variations and show how with words, how different cultures view certain words or concepts. You understand? Or how certain words are used in one language and it means something different, might be slightly different in another language, right? So with that being said, I'm going to read you something in the Bible that speaks to that, and that's the prologue of the book of Ecclesiasticus, a paragraph in the prologue of Ecclesiasticus. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this is on subject here, right? So it says, to the intent that those which are desirous to learn and are addicted to these things might profit much more in living according to the law. Wherefore, let us entreat you to read it with favor and attention. Read the Bible with favor and attention, and to pardon us wherein we may seem to come short of some words. Seem to come short of some words, meaning that the whole meaning of the word doesn't translate from one language to another. It's a little differentiation, and we're going to give you some words that prove this example, okay? So now, we may seem to come short of some words, which we have labored to interpret. It worked hard to interpret this from the original Hebrew into the Greek, right? For the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. Not only these things, but the law itself, the prophets, and the rest of the book have no small difference when they're slakia, when they are spoken in their own language. Meaning, in a nutshell, what this is saying is that when you translate Hebrew into other languages, it doesn't have the exact same translation or the exact same spirit. You understand? And we're going to get into a few words that demonstrate cultural differences for the same word. You understand? So the first word, and these are going to be very simple words. They're not complicated. They're not, everybody's familiar with them. The first word is H802. H802, which is wife. Wife. Wife, Asha in the Hebrew. Asha in the Hebrew well, for time's sake, I ain't gonna have to turn. I'm just gonna write it in the ancient. And it says, well, I can write this in there. It's pretty short. Asha, wife, it means woman, female. That's all it means. Wife. Now, what's the difference in a culture with this word? So let me explain. In Western civilization, or let's just say here in America, if you say, yo, this is my female, this is my woman, you understand? It doesn't mean she's your wife. It just means that you're sleeping with her. She, your woman. You understand what I'm saying? But in Hebrew, there's no separate word from woman or female for wife. It's the same word, Asha, which tells you something about the culture. Because if you had a woman in Hebrew, she was your wife. She was known to be your wife. You didn't have to come up with another word and say, yo, this is my wife. Yo, this is my woman. And everybody understood that that was your wife. That's a cultural difference. Aisha, woman, female. In America, hey, man, you can have 10 females, but none of them are your wife. You understand? That's a cultural difference. And why is this important to point out cultural differences? To show when we say Lashawan Qadash, or the holy tongue, Lashawan Qadash, it means just that. Because within the language itself is a culture, a righteousness about the language itself and the culture. You understand? Wife, Aisha, woman, that's my woman. So half of the times in America, when a person says, yo, that's my woman, he doesn't perceive her as his wife. That's the difference. In our culture, if she was your woman, a woman and a wife is the same thing. If you had a woman, you had a wife. That's the whole, right? That's the first word. The next word, which there's two words in Hebrew for this, and the first one we're going to put up is H5959. And that word is virgin. Remember, we're just showing cultural differences, right? Virgin. Alma. You understand? Which in the Hebrew is spelled Alma. Alma Alma, which means young woman, and you can look it up. That's why I put the numbers there. Young woman of marriageable age. She's old enough to be married. That's a virgin in Hebrew. Also, newly married, or maid or young woman. Maid, young woman. Now, what do you notice about that word in Hebrew that's totally different from the word virgin in the Western, idea or concept of or meaning? In the Western meaning of the word, you notice the Hebrew meaning has nothing to do with sex at all. Nothing at all. It just represents the fact that it's a young woman, a maid, or a woman of marriageable age. It doesn't denote that she's had sex or has not had sex. You understand? Because once again, if you have sex, then she's a wife, but she still could be a virgin, meaning she still could be a young woman, a maid. You understand? Of marriageable age, right? So we're going to get some scriptures in a minute to deal directly with that issue, right? So now, there's a scripture here that I want to bring out. Bob, shall I give me Genesis 24? What is it? 24 and 16. Right? You got a mic? Hold on a second. Testing. Okay, we good. Okay, Baba Kashar. So now this word, virgin, right? And here's a scripture that proves what I said, because what I said in the word virgin, Alma, H5959, means a young woman of marriageable age, maid or young woman, has nothing to do with sex. And here's the proof. Read that, Baba Kashar.
Khan. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 24, verse 16. And the damsel was very fair to look upon.
So she's a fine young lady. She's beautiful. She's a young woman, right? Read.
A virgin.
Now she's a virgin, right? She's a virgin. She's a young woman. She looks good, and she's a virgin. Now read the next part.
Neither had any man known her.
Neither had any man known her. So if the word virgin mean that she never had sex, they wouldn't have had to put the second part saying neither had any man known her. Because a virgin, the word virgin in the Hebrew has nothing to do with sex. And also, you see that in the Hebrew, the word virgin, a man could not be a virgin.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Because we didn't have those sexual connotations to everything that we did. You understand what I'm saying? A man in Hebrew could never be a virgin. He's just a man without a wife. That's all. He's just a man without a wife. That's it. He's not a virgin, because a virgin is a young woman of marriageable age. Read it again.
Count one count. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 24, verse 16. And the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, neither had any man known her. And she went down to the well and filled her pitcher and came up.
So this woman was a virgin, and neither had any man known her. You understand? So it gives you a word virgin, and then it gives you the fact that she didn't sleep with any man, which is two different things. Meaning she was a young, beautiful woman of marriageable age, but she's a virgin, but no man has slept with her. You understand? Because in our culture, once you sleep with a woman, she's your wife. That's the point. That's the point. So now, the next word, apostle. Now, this is a Greek word, right? Which is Greek G652. Apostle, right? And in the Greek, it's apostolos. Apostolos. Right? I don't know how to write Greek. Don't worry about it. So now, in Isupk, we understand that an apostle is just a prophet, and we're going to prove that, right? Because there's a different cultural connotation to the word apostle. Damn, I didn't even spell it right. Salakia. Apostle. You understand? And the cultural variation comes from Christianity. Like in Christianity, they look at apostle as something different from a prophet, right? They do. They think it's like some special kind of prophet. But in fact, it's not. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Apostle, ambassador. Ambassador of the Gospels, right? That's what they put up there, right? As the meaning in the Greek for the word apostle, apostolos, right? With miraculous powers. See? With miraculous powers. Right? Apostles, right? What else it got? Messenger, or one sent forth with orders. One sent forth with orders. You understand? One sent forth with orders. That's an apostle. He's a messenger with miraculous powers, an ambassador of the truth, right? So now we're going to do prophet, which is the exact same thing. And I'm going to show you. And that word in the Hebrew is H5030. Prophet. And I'm going to show you culturally, although in the Christian theology or doctrine, apostle, they don't call an apostle a prophet. You understand? They act like it's something different. But let me show you. Now, by your na, by ya Now, by your prophet. And in the Hebrew, it means the same thing. It means inspired man, spokesman, right? Under the divine influence. Under divine influence, an inspired man, same thing as an ambassador of the gospel, is an inspired man. Come on.
If I may ask, where does H802 information come from?
Oh, Shalaki, if I may, I didn't get a chance to explain. That's a good question. Okay. We have what is called a concordance, the Bible concordance, right? And in the concordance, they have the Greek words and the Hebrew words. So when you see H802, the word Ashah is the 802nd word listed in Hebrew. It's in numerical order. So H is Hebrew 802. So when you see Greek G652, apostolos, that's the 652 second word listed in Greek numerical order. That's all it is. So I would advise everybody to at least get a Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary or the larger model, or get you a concordance, or get both. Because this whole thing in ISUPK is a learning journey, a journey of learning. You understand? When we come into the ISUPK, I didn't know nothing about no concordance. I didn't know nothing about Zondervan Bible Dictionary. I know nothing about it. But I know about it now, and I put it to use. You understand what I'm saying? Because this is practical knowledge. Knowledge that you can use in your life. It's practical. It's applicable to your life. You can apply it. So this, what's the name of the sister or brother that asked the question? Oh, Trooper Yazakar, Salaki. Trooper Yazakar, that's a good question. So when I came in here, I didn't have no books. I came in here with a pencil and a pad. But now I carry the Zondervan. I carry several books with me everywhere I go. You understand what I'm saying? And because the concordance is so large, we have a copy here in the school, of course. So when you come to class, I'll show you how it works, okay? But that's basically how it works. You look up that word numerically, and then you can always go to Blue Letter Bible and type in that number, and that word, it'll show you where that word is, and it'll give you the breakdown and the definition. These are the things that we learn in ISUPK under Commander General Yohana. So that's H. Any H means it's a Hebrew word. Any G, because the New Testament, of course, was revealed in modern times in the Greek language. You understand? I had some good stuff for you, but we ain't going to have time. But anyway, prophet, Nabaya'ah, inspired man, spokesman, under divine influence, and what else? Or divine spirit. Right. So now these are two words, apostle and prophet, right? So now, in the definition in the Greek also includes with miraculous powers, which is not included in the Hebrew definition of the word prophet, nabaya'ah, or nabah, right? But the prophets of the Old Testament did just as many miracles. Moses did some tremendous miracles. Joshua did miracles. You understand what I'm saying? Many a prophet has done miracles in the Old Testament. So when they put down with miraculous powers, it doesn't separate an apostle from a prophet. It conjoins them. Because the prophets of the Old Testament did miracles just as well. Elijah did miracles. Elisha did miracles. Understand? Many prophets in the Old Testament did miracles. That's comparable to the miracles that was done by the so-called apostles of the so-called New Testament. So the word apostle, whenever you see that word, don't be fazed by it. It simply means prophet. That's all it means. It's the same thing. It's not no special distinction. The only thing special about those brothers is that they saw Christ. They worked with Christ. You understand? So the application of the word, you understand what I'm saying, is not a mystery. It's not a difference. Because what are we dealing with? We're still dealing with the Israelite culture when we're dealing with the so-called apostles who were Israelites. Christ, who is an Israelite. So it's the same culture, but because the cultural difference in Christianity was made to be prevalent, you understand, they tried to make a differentiation on something that meant the same thing. An apostle is a prophet, that's it. They had schools, which they call churches, which is just a congregation, you understand, just like we have here today. What they call churches in the Bible is not what they call church today. You understand? They held church on street corners back then. They held church wherever they could. They held church in people's houses. It wasn't the building. It was the people. The church means the congregation of God, of God's chosen. Look up the word church. That's what it means. It doesn't mean a building where you go and worship God. It doesn't mean that. It means the congregation of God. Understand? So when we take the cultural application from the Hebrew, we get the truth. You understand? Because that's the culture of the Hebrews. That's what it was to the Hebrews. You understand? Now we got some more. Oh, this is a good one. We got, I'm going to show you the same word in two different languages with the same, almost the same meaning, right? And that word is H1285. Which is covenant. Which in the Hebrew is Ba-Ra-Yah. 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 Ba-Ra-Yah is covenant, right? I need all this place. That's why I'm not writing it in the Assyrian. Now, also, I want to let y'all know, right? To learn the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet, I have these sheets right here. I have about 4 of them with me right now. I'm going to make some copies. If anybody needs one of these sheets, you understand what I'm saying? When you come to class, or if you know somebody that's coming to class, then you can request one of these sheets and it'll be given to you freely, and you can learn the alphabet of the original or the Paleo Hebrew and the modern or Assyrian alphabet. They have the same pronunciations, even though the symbols are different. Okay, so those are available here at the Isupk Durham. Give me a second. I keep them in my Hebrew book so that if anybody needs one, if you need to learn the Hebrew and learn how to practice it, of course, obviously, the Czar is at your disposal, and I'll help you in any way that I can to learn. In order for you to learn any language, you have to learn the alphabet first. Then you learn words. That's the progression, right? So now we got the word covenant, barayath, right? That's what we got. And it means treaty, agreement, alliance, constitution. See that? That's why we always tell you that the laws, statutes, and commandments is our constitution, because that's part of the agreement. The agreement with the Most High God is that we keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, which is our constitution. It's part of the treaty, agreement, alliance. Marriage. Marriage is a covenant, meaning that there's laws pertaining to it. So this word barayath could mean marriage in a spiritual term or in a physical. Marriage is an agreement, an alliance, a constitution, a treaty between a man and a woman. Barayath. Now, this is the part that I want to share with you, brothers and sisters who might not know this, right? The next word we're going to do is G 1242, which is Greek word 1242. And that word is testament, right? And here we're going to show you another cultural deviation for a word, right? So that's word. And the Greek is dia, D-I-A, T-H, diatheka, or diatheka, diatheke, right? That's the Greek word for testament. However, when you look up the word and its definition, contract, covenant, arrangement, God's covenant with Noah. With Knock. God's covenant with Noah is a covenant, a contract, a covenant, an arrangement. It is the exact same word as barayath in the Hebrew. However, you see covenant is in the definition. However, they choose to use the word testament or testimony. You see? But this is what I want to share with you. Because in the Hebrew tongue, testimony and covenant is two different words with two totally different meanings. So a testament is just testimony. You understand? Which is like something that you can find to be true. You understand? True testimony, right, is a testament. But when you say the first covenant was with Noah, or you could say the covenant that was with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Instead of saying testament and saying it's two different testaments, the Old Testament and the New Testament is really two covenants. Diakaite, diatheke, diathaka. I don't know how to speak Greek, so I'm doing the best I can. But that's G1242, testament, diathaka, contract, covenant, arrangement, God's covenant with Noah. That's what it says. You can look it up. That's why I give you these numbers, so you can look it up yourself, and you can see that Officer Yanazar is honest with you about these meanings. I'm not making up nothing. Understand? And the word covenant in the Hebrew, barayath, means the same thing, because the Old Testament and the New Testament is simply the first covenant and the second covenant with the children of Israel. That's all it is. That's what it is. You understand? So in the Christian culture, they make it seem like it's something different, that it's not a covenant or agreement anymore, because then they would have to confine it to the Hebrew definition. So they say that the New Testament is for everybody, because they cannot prove that the Most High made an agreement or a covenant with any other nation. They can't prove it. But we can prove with the Bible that the Most High, in fact, made two covenants with Israel, one with Moses as the mediator, which is called the first covenant, and the second covenant or agreement or treaty or alliance or marriage in the spiritual sense, you understand what I'm saying, is with Christ as the mediator. That's it. That's it. So these are the cultural variations of words, you understand what I'm saying, that may lead people to think twice about what they believe. And they don't understand the clear picture that we paint here in the Isupk under Commander General Yohana. Understand? Ain't no confusion up in here. Because the Most High is not the author of confusion. Christ is not the author of confusion. The important things that Christ gave to us are the things that he made clear to us. And the clear thing that he ever said, one of the most clear things he ever said, was that he only came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He said that as clear as day. It wasn't a parable. You know what I'm saying? Nobody had the authority to change it, because Christ only spoke what the Most High told him to speak. He's the mouthpiece of God, prophesied in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 18, throughout Isaiah. You understand? Throughout the Bible, Christ is in the volume of the book. You understand? Meaning he is everywhere in that book. He's in the Apocrypha. He's everywhere. And the covenant that we're under now is Christ's covenant, the second covenant, which the Christians call the New Testament. But in the Greek, the word testament really could be applied to a covenant, arrangement, or a contract, just like the word barayath, which is the Hebrew. And because we are the Hebrews, and the Hebrew language is our language, we go by our, what it means in our culture. In our culture, that's the difference. What it means in our culture is exactly that: treaty, agreement, alliance, constitution, marriage, covenant with God, contract. That's what it means. And so when you have a con, whenever you have con, in front of a word, C-O-N, that means multiple. Conception, 2 people. Contract, more than 1 person. Construction, more than 1 laborer. You understand? Most words with the C-O-N in front of it means more than 1. Multiple. You understand? So now, let me check this time, see how much time we got. Okay, we're going to do one more word and then we're going to have to call it quits. The next word that I want to get into is a good one too. And it has a cultural connotation to it. And that word is, I got like 4 more words, but we're only going to get to 1. Okay, this word is H1471. H1471. And this word is nation. Now, this is a little thing, but there's a cultural variation in the word and how we apply it to today. So that word Goya or Goya means nationality, foreign nation, meaning a people other than yourself, a heathen, foreign nation, heathen, which is the same thing, a foreign nation other than Israel. And that's it. Gentile, okay. Gentile, which means nation, which in the Greek is the word ethnos. Gentile. So I'm just going to ask one simple question. Is Yasha Allah or is Israel a nation? You damn Skippy. We are a nation. So in certain aspects, when you see the word Gentile, particularly in the New Testament, it's talking about the nation of Israel, who are scattered among the nations. But this is the point that I wanted to make. Today, a nation is defined by borders. You see? So everybody within the borders of America is an American or desires to be an American. Everybody in the borders of Mexico is called a Mexican, right? Everybody in England or Great Britain is called English or British, right? Even though it might be 100 different nationalities or it might be 20 different nationalities, because in our definition of what a nation is, it's the bloodline that defines the nation, not the border. You understand? It's not the bloodline. When the oppressors chopped up Africa, right? You understand? They made the borders of what nations that they have in Africa today. But that wasn't the land of different, they split tribes when they created those borders, because that's not how the Most High sees nations. The Most High see, if you're a Moabite, you're from the Moabite nation because you're the seed of Moab. You understand? If you're an Edomite, you're the seed. It don't matter where you live. You're the seed of Edom. If you're an Israelite, Yasha Allah, you're the seed of Israel, no matter where you live. So these are the cultural differences that are applied in some of these words. And sometimes in modern doctrines, they're there for division. The way they're presented to people, it's a division. Goya or Goya, nation, foreign nation, heathen, Gentile. Not a landmass. not a border. You understand? It's the nation. So if you're an Israelite and you live in China, you're still an Israelite. You might have Chinese citizenship, like Paul. Paul was an Israelite. He just was called a Roman because he had Roman citizenship. You understand? And it's another word that I wanted to get to, man, but I ain't got time, and I had two scriptures to back it up. But we're out of time here. And once again, I want to thank everybody. I'm trying to work to get a little bit more time. Let me see who we got in the building here. Okay, we got Sister Olivia Arnold. We got Sister Nashima. We got, hold on. Hey, shalom. Y'all about Shema Shabbat. We got Super Quiet Bar. Y'all about Shema Shabbat. Okay. We got Super Quiet Bar. And who else we got in here? I just want to thank y'all for tuning in. You know, this is our new time now. Salakia. And let me see if I didn't miss anybody. We got Chupa Yakazar. Yazakar. Salakia, sir. Salakia. Chupa Yazakar. Quiet Bar. Chupa Quiet Bar. Olivia Arnold. I thank all of y'all for tuning in. You know, I had a few more, but I ran out of time because we had some technical difficulties and we started mad late. Okay, with that being said, I'm just going to say I thank y'all for tuning in once again. We are the ISUPK, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. And with that, I say shalom. You understand? If you got any questions, you know, some of y'all got my phone number. You understand what I'm saying? And I'll give you, you understand, whatever I got. Okay? In terms of information, all right? With that, I say shalom.